what are the objectives of teaching science in middle school? Let me start my topic with this. See, every lesson has its own objectives, and there is one overall objective for teaching science in middle school. So we can say it is like science in action, making science more in action, bringing science in action, right? And we make them think about science in a scientific way. Make them think in a scientific way. So that is also one of the important value we try to inculcate from class 6 to 8. And we actively involve them in the learning process. Even though it cannot be achieved 100%, it's not possible. Because already ma'am mentioned about heterogeneous group. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of different types of students. We cannot involve everybody in learning. 100% is not possible. Of course, in the beginning level, 80% is possible. Slowly, we will try to involve everybody. So that is one of the important objective during the middle school. As they leave the 6th, 7, and 8, when they come to this leave this middle school, when they come to the brim of the middle school 8th standard, they should involve themselves. They should understand their passion in science. They should be able to choose a career in science, and they should be able to gauge themselves how much interest they have in science. All this will happen till 8th. So that is the way we are. This is the way we are going to cultivate that interest in them. Slowly, this will be happening inside. Like an iceberg, slowly it will come out. When they finish that 9th and 10th, they'll know that they are much interested in science and go for a science group. And everything, all the things they are learning, if we are insisting on all these concepts, that will create a conceptual framework in their mind. Whole concept should be framed in their mind. It is not like we are stopping the lesson with 6th standard with one particular topic. We are not stopping with that. When the child goes to 7th standard, we are trying to drag the concept with the help of the concept mapping. Slowly we'll be taking him into 8th standard. The same concept has to travel with the child. So there will be a framework in his mind. The neurons will form a framework in his mind about each concept, any concept at each level. See, maybe I'll give you a simple example. 3rd standard level, we'll be learning about living organisms and non-living organisms. We'll tell them what are the characteristics of a living thing, what are the characteristics of a non-living thing. As the child goes for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, the same thing is only taken in a higher level. How we are taking it in a higher level? In each level, say maybe in class 6, living organisms and their surrounding. A living organism means we know the characteristics, then it is dependent upon the habitat. It is giving to the habitat, it is taking from the habitat. It has to live in a habitat. So that is being brought in. How it is living in a habitat. Slowly we are introducing about stimulus or stimuli, response, and this is being brought in. Slowly in class 7, human beings, the system, we are telling him about how living organisms are made up of cells. Cells together make up a tissue. Tissues together make up an organ together make up an organism. This hierarchy. And slowly we are bringing in the various systems. Till class 10, we are introducing various systems, how each system functions. In class 9, we are telling him about the biodiversity. Biodiversity, how we are showing the classification as vertebrates, invertebrates, and the invertebrate, various phylum, like in the case of animals. In the case of plants, also we are trying to bring in what are the various divisions which are seen. So in all this, it's only from living organisms. We are starting from living organisms. So that creates a conceptual framework for the child. And then we are allowing the child to come out with the group discussions, allow the child to participate in the class, allow the child to ask questions to you. Sometimes we may not know all the answers what he wants. Sometimes we will also try, we will also learn and we'll give him an answer. Allow the child to participate in group and come out with some ideas, some conclusions. So all this are important in middle school science. And varied interests. See, students some have different experiences. They'll with a lot of enjoyment, they should undergo all these things. I have after this COVID, I think I shared with you, when I carried a compound microscope to the class for class 6 after 2 years. Children were all much excited when they came back to the school. Like immediately I carried a compound microscope to tell them about some microorganisms. I was actually showing it for class 8. So I told them there are also microorganisms like amoeba. Class 6, when I was taking the lesson living organisms. So I just showed them a microscope. They were all excited. So because 2 years they were not able to see the lab, class 4 to class 6, so jump only. 2 years they were at home. Maybe an incubation period, we should say, right? And then when they were looking at all these things, they were much happy. I felt so. So all this will happen only till class 8. You can bring in a lot of enthusiasm in learning science. Make the child observe and learn from the surroundings, from the environment, and make the child understand. When you're teaching a flower lesson, make the child understand whenever a plant is producing a flower, it is ready to reproduce. It is going to undergo a kind of reproduction. So whenever the child looks at the flower, he should understand it's a reproductive part. The plant is going to reproduce. All these things, simple observations. Whenever he's seeing an ant moving, he should be able to observe how it is moving, right? When he sees a snail moving, he should be able to, ma'am was saying that he will be able to see the movement. So everything, it is like appreciating the environment, appreciating the nature, at the same time observing and understanding. All this can happen very nicely till class 8, because the burden of board examination is not there. In the case of class 9 and class 10, it becomes a little board examination, mark scoring, more oriented. But till class 8, they can comfortably understand and happily enjoy learning science. This is my way of understanding. And I love them. Even assess the students' understanding every time. Whenever you are making a simple experiment. See, that day ma'am was saying about acid bases, especially. You ask the children to bring different types of acids, bases, like simple things like lemon juice, all these things, and then they will come out with the answers. Let them come out. Sometimes they may get a wrong answer also. Don't worry. Let the child have the confidence to speak to you. Let the child understand where he is going wrong. Slowly let him learn. In all these cases, we will assess. It cannot happen within a day. Throughout the process, class 6 whole process, by the way he interacts, by the way he is able to experiment, by the way he's showing a project, by the way he mixes with the group and submitting maybe it can even be a pollution chart, a slogan on pollution chart. All these things will help us to evaluate experiments. So this is what is expected in science teaching in middle school. So this is my way of looking at science in the middle school. It's not with only 6 or 7. It's all for 6, 7 and 8. All this should happen. Shall I move on, teachers? Am I clear? Am I audible? Shall I move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So this is what is the perspective of science teaching? The next one. Yes. Before starting with sound, is my screen visible? Yes. Shall I continue? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. So any lesson, any topic you take, for us, that should be something called as concept mapping. That should be something called as concept mapping, especially for us. How we are going to drag the concept, from where we are going to start the concept, and until where we are going to drag the concept and where we are going to end the concept for that particular class. If it is class 6, it is in one level. Class 7 means in another level. In class 8 means it will be in another level. This is how we should plan before we go for a class. Till what I am going to drag this concept. That is very, very important for any class. Whenever we are taking any lesson, let it be for class 10 or class 9 or class 7, we should know any topic till what I'm going to touch. From where I'm going to start. That we should decide. That we call it as concept mapping. A simple concept mapping has to be done, and this will help us to relate many concepts. To relate many concepts together, put in many concepts, make the person understand, make the children understand. Right? So for that purpose, I tried a concept mapping for sound lesson. Generally, I will ask before starting with sound. I will ask children what is sound. I will start the lesson like this only. What is sound? So they'll be able to come out. Up to this class 8, they have not learned anything about sound. Only thing in class 5, I think they must have learned about sound as an energy, if I am correct. Right? Sound as a form of energy or a kind of energy. So they have the definitions for energy. They know the definitions for energy. What is energy? It's the capacity to do work, ability to do work. So they know that energy is the ability to do work. So yes, so energy is the capacity to do work, and from that I will try to drag the concept. And what are the different forms of energy, the kinds of energy, sound, heat, all these are various types of energies. Electricity, right? And even they have learned about the renewable energy sources, non-renewable energy sources. Some children will be coming out with all these things. Okay, allow them to speak. And one type of energy is sound. Now, how is sound produced? How is sound produced? For this, we have the answer. Sound is produced by the vibration of a particle. We are insisting on the sound is produced by the vibration of a particle. Very, very important. A particle vibrates to produce sound. A particle has to vibrate. Vibration is very easily understood nowadays thanks to cell phones. Children are in vibrating mode. Some 5 years or 10 years before, vibration means they'll be just blinking at us. Now vibration mode, they know very clearly what is vibration. And in class 7, they have learned about oscillation. Already they have learned about oscillation, right? Class 7, they will learn about the pendulum and the oscillation. So relate vibration and oscillation also, right? There is small difference between vibration and oscillation, to and fro motion only. In the case of vibration, you can see both the ends are fixed. In any string, you can show, let it be veena, violin. The children who are playing veena and violin, fine. If not, you can also show a string tied on both the sides. Vibration is going up and down. On both the sides is fixed. That is vibration. Whereas in oscillation, it's fixed on the top. And the pendulum moves to and fro around the mean position. Right? So both of them are, even vibration is a kind of oscillation. Again, that's a to and fro motion, and that difference need to be brought in. Right? And whenever we say about oscillation, immediately we can relate it to periodic motion also. Right? Anything that happens in the regular intervals of time, periodic motion. So everything is just recollecting what they have learned from the past and then associating. That's all we are trying to do. So once you have established about vibration, and then a lot of activities to learn about vibration, a lot of activities are given. How a vibrating particle produces sound, how a vibrating particle produces sound, a rubber band activity, beating the metal plate, having water and seeing the vibration, without the water beating the metal plate, and then jal tarang, where water in different glasses in different levels, you see them, show them how the sound is being produced. All our activities, all the child's, even if you allow the child to learn on his own by doing the activity, it's fine. And even that with the coconut shell, they make small instrument. They can make an instrument. People used to sell in all the tiruviras and all, you must have seen people selling all these instruments like that, their own instruments they can make, how they can produce the different types of sounds, right? Even with coconut leaf, Olay, they make one small, have you ever seen the teachers? They nicely fold that coconut leaf and they make it,
it is people leaf, ma'am.
Coconut leaf.
Coconut.
Yes, coconut leaf, nicely they'll fold it, and then it will produce some sound, a small sound. That also can be done. All these things can be done. Otherwise, with the paper, a small slit and blowing in between the paper. So all these are examples of producing different types of sounds. When they make the sound, slowly they will understand the characteristics of the sound waves. Well, let them first make the sound, let them first experiment, and they'll come to a conclusion, and then we have to impart knowledge on the characteristics of the sound waves. Then only our role comes into play. Till then, a lot of activities, allow the child to do the activities, make them as groups. If you are going to allocate more number of periods, then completion of portion becomes very difficult. Each group, give them one activity, allow them to do, allow them to come out with their observations and their inference, and then we will conclude. Right? So that is some. And then after this, we don't stop. We will be explaining about how sound is produced in human beings with the help of the vocal cords. So from here, we jump into the next thing, how sound is produced in human beings, and then how we are able to hear the sound with the help of our human ear. And then the sound waves, where we are speaking about amplitude, time period, and frequency. Three important things at this level, class 8 level. We are discussing about the time period, the amplitude, and the frequency. And then the sound waves, we also relate it with the noise pollution. And then we will also speak about the audible and inaudible sounds. So this is the mapping of the whole lesson. Any lesson before you take, you are able to make a concept mapping. It's a very good way of interrelating the concepts. You can take some concepts wherever you want. See, for example, for kinds of energy, from there you can even introduce the renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, and you can carry on for the next lesson. Like that, wherever there's a possibility, you can just branch out. That's what is a concept mapping. Any lesson you start from where you are going to start the concept, from where till where you are going to end the concept. So this is what I felt is very, very important for every lesson before we start with the topic. Am I clear, teachers? Shall I move on? Yes. So the next one is, I'm just going to share with you an experiential learning. Ma'am was also speaking about this. And experiential learning is learning by doing. I'm sharing with you a simple picture. I'm sharing with you a picture on experiential learning. 4 important things. This will be useful for you if you are taking up that CIET exams also. So I thought I will insist on this. Right. See, first thing, it's like it's called as it was put forward by means of David Kolb. David Kolb, I think it's there in the, yes. David Kolb is the person who gave us this experiential learning. It consists of 4 important things. One is abstract conceptualization, and then active experimentation, concrete experience, and reflective observation. Any lesson can be put into these ways, and you can go for a experiential learning, especially the activities of sound lesson. When you are trying to explain the activities of sound lesson, first we are going to tell a child that vibrating body produces sound. A vibrating body produces sound. So in this case, what we should do is, that is only the concept. And then allowing the active experimentation, allow him to experiment with a lot of like rubber band, like the metal plate. All these becomes the active experimentation, vibrating, even a tuning fork. You can even introduce a tuning fork, teachers. It is mostly available in the physics lab. Most of our labs have a tuning fork. You can also show him how the vibrating body produces the sound. And then the concrete experience. What is the concrete experience here? Allow the child to make his own musical instrument. Anything. Let him make sound with the help of a paper, or with the coconut leaf, or if, as ma'am said, even with the people leaf, if the child is able to make some sound, fine. Or his own musical instrument, he has to make a sound with the help of something. Make it as an instrument. How we can make it a very pleasant sound. Then it becomes a music. Or it can be even noise. Some of the children, with the help of all the vessels at home, they make noise. You must have seen, right? They love to bang the vessels. They produce noise. Let the child do it, right? So that is one way of, the final thing is the experience. Finally, it's concrete experience, how the child experiences to make his own instrument. The last one is a reflective observation. So based on his experience, his observation and inference, what he has learned about it. See, for example, the child is taking water in a metal plate, right? And then he is hitting it. He is able to see the vibration of water. He is able to hear the sound. Right. So from this, he is making something like a gel tarang. He is keeping the vessels and pouring water in the cups at different levels, and then he is producing the sound. He is able to hear different sounds. So that is this concrete experience. Finally, reflective observation may be like whenever there is water is poured in, based upon the level of water, amount of water in each cup, the sound produced varies. That is his reflective observation. So that's one property he has learned. From what sound is produced from a vibrating body is the abstract concept. It's the abstract concept. From that, by his active experimentation and concrete experience, he has learned one property, which is by means of the water kept in some vessels, he is able to produce different types of sound. So like this, any topic, we can go for this kind of experiential learning. There will be an abstract concept that is called abstract conceptualization, and then active experimentation, concrete experience, and then finally it is reflective observation, what he has learned finally. So together it makes up experiential learning. This we call it as experiential learning. It will link the field, laboratory, classroom, real life situations, everything will be put together in experiential learning. This is one type of teaching strategy which is very much insisted by CBSE nowadays. There are different methods of teaching. One such is experiential learning, and which is very much insisted by CBSE. Am I clear, teachers? We shall start with sound. So sound is produced by a vibrating body. The to and fro motion of an object, we call it as vibration, and this is also called as oscillatory motion, right? And then we will know, we'll be teaching this only. Main thing for a class 8 student is vibrating body, and that is the one which produces sound. And when it is when we are speaking about vibration, automatically we are introducing about oscillatory motion. So when it comes for oscillatory motion, it is only what I have learned in class 7. We will be explaining about what is the mean position, what are the extreme positions. See, if mean position is B, am I sharing the slide, teachers? Am I sharing oscillatory motion slide? Please tell me if you are not able to.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the mean position is B. The mean position is B, and A and C are the extreme positions. And by class 8, they should know what is meant by one oscillation. Starting from one extreme position, passing through the mean position, reaching the other extreme position, again crossing the mean position and coming back to A. That we call it as one oscillation. So this will help us to give a lot of numericals based on time period, frequency and amplitude. So insisting on oscillatory motion is very, very important before we explain them anything. Am I clear, teachers? So vibration is a kind of oscillatory motion, and it is necessary to tell them about the simple pendulum and what is meant by one oscillation, and there's a small difference between the vibration and oscillation. In the case of vibration, where you can see, I'm showing you here the vibration slide. Here you can see on either side it is fixed and the movement is on either up and down. Whereas in oscillation, it's fixed on the top and then it is moving. The pendulum is moving on either side, this side. Whereas it's fixed on the top. This difference between oscillation and vibration has to be understood by the child. This is very, very important for a class 8 child, and they should also understand what is meant by time period, because oscillatory motion is what they have learned in class 7. The time taken to complete one full oscillation, we call it as time period. So they should know what is oscillation, right? So now we are going to relate oscillatory motion with vibratory motion with the help of some vibrations that they come across with the help of some musical instruments. We'll be explaining about what is how a musical instrument like guitar produces sound, how a musical instrument like a veena, a sitar, or even yard. Some of the instruments children does not know. So you can also ask them to find out some new instruments that they have not heard of and come out with the answers, like percussion instruments, string instruments, percussion instruments, blowing air, like saxophones, all these instruments, like all this will help them to have a clear idea about how the vibration produces sound, how the vibration is producing the sound. And hope all of you have finished doing this, Kahoot. Can I continue? Can I continue with my slides, teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, so this is what is expected about this vibratory motion when we are going to explain them, oscillatory motion and vibratory motion to be explained, and different types of musical instruments. After this, the next part is how is sound produced in human beings. Right? So the next part of the lesson, now we have explained about the production of sound by means of a vibrating body, and we have explained about the various activities that are connected with the production of sound. Now we are going for the next part, which is how is the sound produced in human beings? How can the sound be produced in human beings? Our learning objectives, what will be the learning objectives in this? Can anybody answer my question, teachers? What will be the learning objective for this? What you will expect the child to learn from this sound produced in the human beings? Yes?
The parts which is responsible for the production of sound.
Yes, ma'am. So the student will be, this will enable the student to understand or comprehend the parts that are responsible for the production of sound. So that is our objective. So we should explain, we should describe the structure of the parts that are involved in the production of sound in the human beings. For this, one thing is, imagine one day you are dumb. Imagine one period you are dumb. What are the problems you will face if you are dumb? So they will understand dumb charades. That's one game. Teachers, you must be knowing dumb charades. Have you heard of that? Dumb charades, that's a game. And
Yes, ma'am.
actions they will enact. No. Yes? With the actions, they will
Yes, ma'am.
everything. For films, for movies, and all, they'll enact with the help of the actions. So like that, you can ask the child, imagine himself as dumb for one single period. What will happen? So he will understand the importance of vocal cords. See, especially in a boys' school, we can see how children are in the playground, especially how they scream. They don't take care of their vocal cords, right? And some children will drink cold water always, eating lot of ice creams. All this will affect the vocal cords. So we are going to explain the structure of the vocal cords and how this vocal cord is going to get affected. They are not going to take care of it. For explaining about the vocal cords, now important things is they are nothing but they are also called as vocal folds. There are two bands of smooth muscle tissues. They are found in the larynx. When we are speaking about the respiratory system, we can say about how the nostrils, from the nostrils, the nasal passage, and then the trachea, the windpipe. The upper part of the trachea, the windpipe, is called as the larynx. The other name for the larynx, we call it as the voice box. And in this region, only the vocal cords are present. There are two bands of smooth muscle tissue, highlighting smooth muscle tissue. I'll show you a picture, right? And see, a smooth muscle tissue. Then you can relate it to which lesson? You can relate it to which lesson, teachers? Sound lesson comes after cell structure, right? cell structure, we are teaching them about different types of cells. And there we are speaking about the muscle cells, the spindle-shaped smooth muscle cells. If I am correct, spindle-shaped muscle cells. They are smooth muscle cells. So you can relate that also. Here they have the smooth muscle tissues, two bands of smooth muscle tissues are present. They form actually the vocal cords, right? So they are only, these muscles only help in holding the vocal cords and then producing the sound, right? So they vibrate and the air passes through the cords and from the lungs to produce the sound. And each person has a unique voice. It's not the same. Most of us, if you just by especially for the people who are for the people who are blind, the voice only helps to understand who's who, if I am correct, right? People who are blind, they hear, they only with the help of the voice they are able to distinguish, right? So everybody is best out with a unique voice. So that can be explained in this case. And the structure of the vocal cords, you can see the vocal cords, the position of the vocal cords need to be shown. You should show trachea and esophagus are two parallel lines, and just above the trachea only the larynx is placed, and the larynx consists, is otherwise called as the voice box, and it consists of two vocal cords which is held by means of the smooth muscle tissue, which is responsible for the increasing in the length of the vocal cord or decreasing the length, depends upon the air that is pushed out through the lungs. The lungs are lungs is from both the lungs, the air is pushed out by means of which the vocal cord vibrates, producing the sound, right? And the vocal cords length differs in the male and the females. It's not going to be the same. It is going to be different in male as well as females. In child also it is different. Based on the structure, the sound produced also differs. In the case of males, what is the see, this is the normal vocal cord, and in this picture you can see how it is open, how it is closed. Am I showing you this picture, teachers? 10 slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right? Open and closed vocal cords can be shown. And then what is the size? See, in the case of 20 millimeter long vocal cords, in the case of men, whereas in women it is little smaller. Children still more smaller. So the voices are different. So what is vocal cord is very, very important. Its position. And another very often adding fun to this is cord. The spelling of cord very often we'll come across, because we have a spinal cord, we have a vocal cord, right? And this C-O-R-D cord, they will make a lot of spelling errors. What are the possible spellings of cord, teachers? What are the possible spellings? What are the other spellings for cord? Please participate, teachers. Card, postcard.
C-H-O.
C-H-O-R-D, cord. What is that cord?
Wire.
Yeah, wire. Yes, C-H-O-R-D is one card. Another card?
C-A-R-D.
Very good. C-A-R-D, another card. So,
Yes, ma'am.
C-A-R-D card, C-H-O-R-D card, right? And this card, C-O-R-D card. So that has to be explained where they will come across that C-H-O-R-D card, even in a circle, when they are drawing a line between two lines on between 2 points on a circle, they call that as a chord, right? If it does not pass through the center, that is C-H-O-R-D chord. But when they come across the C-A-R-D chord, a postcard. So here it is vocal cord, C-O-R-D chord. So they insist on these spellings, they will never go wrong, right? So this is about the size of the vocal cords, which is different for men, women, as well as the children. So that we can insist on. Is it clear about the vocal cords? Is it clear, teachers? Smooth muscle
Yes, ma'am.
is responsible. And when we are speaking about the smooth muscle tissue, we can relate it to the muscle cells they are learning. I told you they are spindle shaped. Smooth muscle means spindle shaped. Skeletal muscles, smooth muscles. With our knowledge, we can even make them relate. Right. And the open and closed vocal cords, that also can be done. Right. The next one is about the next one. So up to this we are speaking about how is the sound produced in human beings. How is the sound produced in human beings? The next one, based upon the gender difference, I got one picture of male and female, how it differs. The vocal folds also they use, how it differs. And now the next part is about some of the experiments. See, when we are taking some of the experiments to prove that, yes, to prove that the sound needs a medium to travel. As per our lesson, the next part, after speaking about the vocal cords, the lesson goes like this: how the sound needs a medium to travel. It's a very important thing that we should insist on. And for that, that's a very simple experiment that is given. Sound can travel through solids, sound can travel through liquids, sound can travel through air, but it cannot travel through, complete my sentence, teachers. It cannot
Vacuum.
travel through, yes,
Vacuum.
vacuum.
Vacuum, ma'am.
Yes, it cannot pass through vacuum. So when we are insisting on this, it needs a medium to propagate. So the next part of the lesson speaks about the medium, how it travels in a solid with the help of a small table. You keep your ear, you hit it, or tie a thread, and earphones, two matchboxes, they hear. All these are simple activities to understand sound can travel through solids. Right? And needs, first we insist on sound needs a medium to travel. If there is no medium, sound cannot travel at all. Right? And next one is liquids. Even in the case of a vegetable vendor nearby, sorry for the disturbance. Right, and you take one bell and take water tub, keep the bell inside and ring the bell, keep the ear close to it and hear the sound. You will be able to hear the ringing of the bell. So sound can travel even in water, it can travel in solid, it can travel in liquid. How about air? It can also travel in air. If there is no air, imagine a condition in moon. Right? Let us imagine we are the first person to land on the moon. How would the person communicate it to the other person who is standing opposite to him? That can be a question. If he shouts, will he be able to hear? No. So why he cannot hear?
Because there is no air.
There is no air. Two things you have taught: sound needs the medium to travel, and you have also taught him there is no air in the moon. Right? So sound when there is no air, there is no propagation of sound. So for that only a simple experiment is given in a reader. For NCERT reader, there will be a small glass where the child is made to suck out the air and then keep it, and then keep a ringing mobile inside. They will not be able to hear it. And for that, a well-developed experiment is this. We are taking a bell jar, an electric bell, and a vacuum pump is taken, take out all this, and then by using the electric bell, we are going to produce the sound with the help of the battery and the key. Now, if it is vacuum, the sound cannot be heard. This is a simple experiment to understand. Sound cannot travel in vacuum because sound needs a medium to travel. Many kind of questions can be asked from this concept. You imagine you are in moon. How will you communicate? What could have been the method of communication for two astronauts who are there in space? All type of questions can be asked based on this. But this is the concept. Right. So next one is the movement of sound in the various medium. Now we're coming to this solids. I try to take out for comparison the speed of sound in different metals, in water, in distilled water, in ethanol. So we know what is speed. Children know because this is class 8. Speed is distance traveled by time taken. Right? The unit of speed is meter per second. Distance is given in meters and time in seconds. So distance traveled in meters and time in seconds. The speed of sound in various substances can be given like this, and they can be asked to compare in gases what is the speed. Generally, the speed of sound approximately in air is 340 meter per second. We can ask them to compare with the speed of sound. Annaratna ma'am is asking something to me. Okay, right. So speed of sound and speed of light to be compared. What is the speed of light? 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. See, class 8, class 7, class 6, they will learn about light, but they will not learn about the speed of light. But you insist on learning about the speed of light. Let them know. In class 7, they know what is speed. So automatically they will understand there is a speed in which the light is traveling. There is a speed in which the sound is traveling. Then only they can actively compare the speed of light and the speed of sound. Okay, so this is very, very important, I feel, for a class 8 child. So very often many questions based on this concept is tested. Like even in the Kahoot also you must have seen thunder and lightning question. Very often thunder and lightning question. What do you see first or hear first? Why do we hear thunder after lightning? All these questions are, you're not able to hear me, teachers. Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I fast? Am I very fast?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Please stop me, teachers, if I am very fast. Yes. Okay. All right. So ask them to compare the speed of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
sound.
We can
Yes.
hear you. No, ma'am.
Okay. Ask students to compare the speed of the sound with the speed of the light. And another thing is speed, light can travel through vacuum, whereas sound cannot travel through vacuum. This is again another important point which we should insist on. Can light travel through vacuum? Can we ask the question like this? Definitely it can travel through vacuum. But can sound travel through vacuum? No. So that has to be distinguished. Okay, the speed has to be distinguished and the propagation in vacuum has to be distinguished between light and sound. So based on this, why are we able to hear the thunder only after lightning? It's a very important question. Why are we able to hear the sound of the cracker after the bursting? That is again another important question, because the speed of sound is lesser compared to the speed of light. That has to be insisted on. For that only, if you are going to give them the speed, automatically they will understand. So you will be very clear on what you are teaching. They will also become very clear on what they have to write. Am I clear, teachers? Shall I proceed? Yes. The next one is,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, anything? Anything else you want? That's it. Is it all clear up to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. The next part is the sound is produced by the vocal cords. Now we know the speed, how the sound is propagating, whether it can propagate in a vacuum or it can pass through the solid, liquid and gas is fine. Now the next part is how we are able to hear the sound. Okay, and for that the structure of the ear comes to play. We have to explain them the structure of the ear, very, very important thing. So maximum possible, we try to make them understand one general outline of the ear structure, because they are in class 8, it's not class 6. So we know about, when we are speaking about, a child may know it's by the vibration of the eardrum. because there is an activity where they cut the bottle, keep a balloon, keep the grains, and then blow below that, and the grains will vibrate. Something like that. The eardrum vibrates and then produces the sound. It is passed on, and then it is taken by the auditory nerves to the brain, and the brain will interpret it as the sound. That is only very, very important. The vibrations are received by the auditory nerves, and these auditory nerves will take it to the brain, and the brain will interpret the vibrations as sound. This is only very, very important in understanding how we are able to hear with the help of our ears, right? So for this, the structure of the ear, they'll be very much interested to know about the structure of the ear. We have an outer ear that is called as the pinna. Pinna is one characteristic thing of all mammals. We can also ask them to compare the elephant, the ear of an elephant. Pinna is very large. The purpose is to collect the sound waves. Whereas for human beings, it's different. Whereas in the case of dog, it's different. The cat, it is different. Even in the dogs also, you tell them about different brands. Some of the dogs are very long, like Labrador, some of them Beagle, all this have very long ears, nice ears they have. So we can ask them to compare the ears or the pinna, right? So that is only the outer ear. And then next comes the long, small, you can see the ear canal or the duct that connects the outer ear to that of the middle ear. Now, when it comes for the middle ear, three important bones need to be mentioned. Three small bones, auditory ossicles, we call it small bones. They are malleus, incus, and stapes. Based on their shapes, they are given the names. Hammer shaped, anvil shaped, and stirrup shaped. Because of that only they are called malleus, incus, and stapes, 3 ear ossicles that is present. And the end of this, we have to mention about this end of this ear canal lies the tympanum, which is the, because tympanum is too much, you can tell them eardrum. Eardrum is the name for tympanum. Or otherwise, we can also do one thing, teachers. Whenever we are introducing new terms, all the new terms put together as one glossary and make the child understand all these terms you should remember at the end of this lesson, right? So in that case, what all the new words he is learning from each lesson, he will list down as the reader says about keywords. Apart from that, you have introduced some new words. Sometimes you would have introduced a new word which is not there in the reader. You can ask him to note down. That will be useful for him, right? If he's taking up some Olympiad exams, all this will help him to do better. Even in Prajna test, all this will help him. So the ear canal ends up with the eardrum. The eardrum continues with the middle ear. We have to mention about the 3 ear ossicles, stapes, malleus, incus, and stapes, which is continued into the inner ear, which consists of organ of balance, and the inner ear called as the cochlea. In this region only, you have the auditory nerve. From here only, the auditory nerve is there, which is taking it to the brain. And from only the vibrations are understood by means of the auditory nerve. It takes it to the brain. Brain only interprets that vibration as sound. And every time we can ask the children to praise the creator for creating such wonderful structures for us. And very important sense organ which helps us to hear around us. And we can also speak about Helen Keller, right? We can also speak about Helen Keller in all these places so that they will develop the habit of thanking God for he has given us everything in life. To see, to hear, to speak. Yes. Right, teachers? Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Yes. This is about how we are able to hear the sound. Now, almost the lesson is done. We have started with vibration of a body produces sound, and then lot of activities to understand how is sound produced, and then in human beings how is sound produced, how we are able to hear the sound, and sound needs a medium to travel, some activities, right? And then we'll proceed with the various characteristics of the sound waves. Now we should tell them the sound actually moves as a wave, right? And some of the bangles, you must have springs, the spring bangles, you must have seen. You can use it for showing how the sound moves as a wave, like this, like this. Okay, and when it moves as a wave only, important things they should remember is the frequency, the amplitude, and the time period. Three important things that they should understand from the sound wave. A lot of videos are available. Khan Academy videos are very fine. Khan Academy videos are very nice. Even I can share in the group for the sound waves. The propagation of sound waves can be explained with the help of many videos. And for your learning also, for your reference also, it is very nice. For us to understand it better, how to explain also, it's fine. All right. And so first make them understand it moves in the form of waves. And then we are going to explain about three important things. One is the frequency. The second one is amplitude. The third one is time period. So before explaining about the amplitude, frequency, and the time period, let me show you a sound wave. So when we are going to explain about the sound wave, what are the things we are going to say? Now, see, three important things I told you: frequency, time period, and the amplitude. The maximum displacement of the wave from the mean position. So this is time. You can say here density and time are taken in two axes, and then the maximum displacement, how much it goes maximum, that we call it as amplitude. The maximum displacement, we call it as amplitude, right? And then the time period is the time taken to complete one oscillation, one crest and one trough. These two together, one upper wave and the one lower wave, we call that the time taken to complete one oscillation, we call it as time period. The number of oscillations that happen in 1 second, we call it as frequency. So we can explain all the three now with the help of the definition. The number of oscillations per second is called frequency. So before explaining it, show him the wave. Show him the wave, make him understand, and then go in for the concept. And usually frequency is expressed. The unit of frequency is hertz. And if see, there is one line in your reader, in NCRT there will be a line. A frequency of 1 hertz means 1 oscillation per second. 1 hertz actually means 1 oscillation per second. If an object is having 20 oscillations in 1 second, its frequency will be 20 hertz. 1 oscillation 1 second, 1 hertz. 20 oscillations 1 second means 20 hertz. That's all. So the number of oscillation per second, we call it as frequency. Now what is amplitude? The maximum displacement of the vibrating particle from its mean position. How much it can travel, we call it as amplitude. And the amplitude is large, the sound is loud. How is amplitude related to the sound? The loudness. Amplitude affects the loudness of the sound. If the amplitude is going to be more, then the loudness of the sound also is going to be more. The amplitude is smaller, then the sound produced also is going to be smaller. The next one is the time period. The time period is the time taken by the pendulum to complete one oscillation. And how is this frequency and time period related? If capital T represents the time period of the pendulum, the number of oscillations it will make in 1 second will be frequency is equal to 1 by T, or time period is equal to 1 by F. Either way, you can explain. This is very important formula that has to be taught. Then only they can take up any type of examinations. So all the three things are very, very important. Amplitude, time period, as well as their frequency. Now, based on this, we can give some, some type of, we can ask them to draw the sound waves based on their understanding. So a bird. So the first bird, here the amplitude is small. The displacement that it had taken is less. So the amplitude is small. So what could be, is it a loud sound or a very feeble sound? Should be a feeble sound. Whereas the second bird shouting, so the loud sound, because the amplitude is higher. The child should be able to distinguish between the loud sound and the soft sound based on the amplitude. Teachers, you are able to follow me? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. You can proceed, ma'am.
Loudness is proportional to square of the amplitude. This is one, it increases by its factors, right? So in that case, how will you draw a loud sound more amplitude? If you are going to draw it, the amplitude is going to be more, the height of this wave is more, then it's a loud sound. The smaller, it's a soft sound, right? The next one, I'll show you frequency. How are you going to show the frequency? Now, frequency is related to the pitch. Now, see here, a high pitch sound corresponds to a high frequency of sound wave. Frequency means number of times the wave comes in that particular. You can distinguish between the blue and the orange line. High frequency. See, the time it has taken, this time it has made 3 waves, whereas here only 2. So this is low frequency comparatively. You can consider the blue color wave is having high frequency, whereas the orange one or the red one is showing low frequency. Number of times it is moving up and down. It's more in the blue, whereas in the red it is lesser. So blue says about the high frequency sound wave, whereas low frequency, you can see even with the help of a card also you can show this. With the help of a card, you can explain what is high frequency and what is low. If it is nicely coiled like this, so we can call this as a high frequency, closely placed. It is a high frequency. This we can call it as high frequency. Same thing as here, one wave, and after this another wave after some time, this is low frequency. That's all, right? It is very closely placed, high frequency. Whenever there is high frequency, automatically the pitch also goes high, right? Whenever there is low frequency, the pitch comes down. So frequency is related to pitch, amplitude is related to loudness. Very important conclusion we should make. At the end of the lesson, the child should understand amplitude is related to the loudness of the sound, and frequency is related to the pitch of the sound. Two important conclusions. Am I clear, teachers? Amplitude is related to the loudness of the sound, and the frequency is related to the pitch of the sound. Is it clear? Is it clear, teacher? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now you can compare. You can compare frequency, high pitched sound. The first one is a high pitched sound, so large frequency. It's a low pitched sound, so it's a small frequency. Now we can compare the roar of a lion and the bird. Roar of a lion will be very loud, but low pitch. Loud and low pitch, whereas birds will be very soft sound, but it is a high pitched sound. So they have to draw according to this. They can draw the diagrams of waves according to the interpretation. So they can ask them to draw the diagram. See, for example, a high pitched sound. You can also draw and show me a high pitched sound. How will you draw a high pitched sound? Show me if you have your notebooks. High pitched sound and a low pitched sound you can draw. You can draw high pitch and low pitch. If you have a board also, you can draw. Yes. When the waves are very closer. Yes. 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 The first one, correct, Shanti ma'am. High pitch and the low pitch sound. The first one is high pitch, whereas this is low pitch. And louder sound and a softer sound. Louder sound, you have to draw it very loud one wave. The wave, you should show the amplitude more. The other one, you will show the amplitude is less. Louder and a softer sound. Amplitude is more and the amplitude is less. A very important concept for class 8, I feel. This is louder sound and this one is softer sound. Louder, longer the yes, Shanti ma'am. Bring it closer. Yes. Yes. Super, Shanti ma'am. Thank you. Yes. So can you understand, teachers? Louder sound and softer sound. And high pitch and the low pitch sound. Now, when it comes for the lion roaring of a lion, so it has a loud sound, frequency is low. So you are going to do a sound which is very loud. See, not very closely packed, please, high pitch but soft. So you are going to make the displacement smaller but very closely packed. So in that way, we'll be able to show them the difference between the lion's roar and the sound of a bird. Okay, so based on this, you can also send through the chat box. I have some comparisons. Now, A, B, C, D. I want you to compare between A and C. Okay, you send in chat box. A and C, they have more or less the same amplitude. So what is the difference here between A and B, A and C, A and C? A and C, they have more or less the same, amplitude. What is the difference? Which one is a high pitch sound, which is a low pitch sound? Which is a high pitch and which is a low pitch between A and C?
C is high
C
pitch.
is the high pitch, ma'am.
Which is, yes, louder?
C
C is the high pitch and A is the low pitch.
C is the high pitch.
A is the low pitch. Very good. So A is the low pitch and C is the high pitch. Now come between A and B. Loud sound, which is the soft sound. Which is the loud sound, higher amplitude. Higher amplitude, which is the loud sound, which is the soft sound. Amplitude is more. Which one has the more amplitude? A and B. B, boy. Can you
A.
compare between A and B? A. A
A
is the
has-
loud sound.
loud.
Amplitude more. Correct. Yes. Yes. A is loud. Now, compare between B and D. Now, the comparison is between B and D. Which one is high pitch here? Which one is high pitch? High pitch.
D.
Frequency is more. D.
D, ma'am.
Can you understand? Different waves and give them, they'll be taking some time, but they will understand completely. I feel so. Okay, teachers, it will be very nice exercise for us also. Different combinations of waves on the board. Ask them to find out. They'll also enjoy doing it. There is nothing like right and wrong. It's only a participation, trying. That's all. Okay, teachers, it will help them to be alert and think and answer. Yes, am I clear, teachers? Shall we proceed? So like this,
Yes, ma'am.
you can ask them to compare the frequencies of the sound waves. Here, lower pitch and high pitch, the difference, different instruments, and then we are going for the audible and inaudible sound. Here we are going to insist upon the hertz. 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz is audible. Below and above is not audible. And then the last part is about the noise pollution. Before the numericals, we will speak about the noise pollution and what are the various reasons for the noise pollution. How can the noise pollution be controlled in a school environment? What could be the steps that could be taken on their side to control noise pollution. And I generally say this, for all the pollutions, one solution which Dr. Abdul Kalam insisted is planting trees. I feel so. Let it be water pollution, air pollution, even noise pollution, because trees are good absorbers of sound. Okay, one solution for all pollution is planting trees. That is the reason Dr. Abdul Kalam insisted on this. So we can speak about this and different methods of controlling the pollution, how noise pollution is taken into higher level in foreign countries, which is not being practiced in our country. Whenever they are using the vehicles, honking, all these things are under control in foreign countries, but in our country it's not like that. Even bursting a cracker also in foreign countries, they have certain rules and regulations, but in our country, if they are putting in the rules also, people are not ready to follow it. There are always people who break the rules. So we should inculcate in them to follow the rules, so that noise pollution is very important thing that should be considered, and it is the effects of noise pollution resulting in becoming deaf, all the things need to be discussed. Right, so that is the thing, and then lot of numericals can be given in this. So based on this frequency and the oscillation time period, all based on all the three, a lot of you give the time period, ask him to find out the frequency, you give the frequency, ask him to find out the time period. So lot of numericals need to be trained on this. Simple numericals. Don't give them decimals first, give them only whole numbers, give them some 5 problems, similar kind, substitute the whole numbers with something else, give him 5 sums, enough. Let him get used for finding out the frequency, and then he'll find out what is time period. So a lot of problems in this is very important for class 8 child. He's very comfortable with all these things, he'll be able to crack any kind of exams fine. Right? And about this, based on a simple worksheet about the decibel of sound, audible sound and inaudible sound, the loudness of the sound. So this is lot of worksheets are available even in Google for noise pollution. Based on this, many worksheets are available. How can you use the volume devices? General questions, right, teachers? Okay, so any worksheet. The last one, I thought I will share with you some of the icons of music. You are able to identify who are all here? Yes? Who is this?
MS Subbulakshmi.
MS Subbulakshmi.
Who is she?
Singer.
Most of us
Carnatic vocals.
for most of us, right?
In Zakir Hussain Tabela.
No, I'm a correct. Suprabhat. Zakir Hussain Tabla and
Yes.
Mamani. Like this, introduce some icons of music. Pandit Ravi Sitar, Bismillah Ali Khan, Kenai, his Mandolin Srinivas, Gattam Ramachandran. All these are different instruments. These people have done a lot to this music. So let us introduce some. This becomes art integrated. They'll also, some children will not study very well, but they'll get inspired by means of these people, and they may do very good with their playing of the instruments or this vocal. They get interested, and also introduce them some of the instruments. Some of the instruments which I thought I don't know. I searched for some instruments. I didn't know what is that instrument called. This all of us, I think this is called parai. This instrument is becoming very famous nowadays. It's called parai. And this one, anybody knows? Alex, there's one person who uses this for beating, for doing some Alex. Have you heard any concerts of Alex? Alex, you have not heard. This is called cajon or clap drum. They keep it closer to them and they'll be beating it. Instead of a drum, they'll use this. Some people even say this as cajon. Actually, it's cajon, right? And this one, this is called darbuka. This is a musical instrument and that is called darbuka. And this one, anybody knows this? Most of us must have read in Tamil books, Ilakyam. Yard. This is only yard. Tamil Ilakyam, all stories, we will learn about yard and all, no? You have learned? So that is also one of the instrument. And this is, have you seen this instrument? This is what they keep in the mouth, morsing they call it. Have you ever seen people doing like this in concerts? Have you ever seen? They keep in their mouth and play. It's a very morsing. It's called morsing. And this one, saxophone. This is saxophone. Yes. Okay. So all these are different types of instruments. Many instruments we ourselves don't know. Honestly, teachers, because I'm doing sound lesson, I thought I will search and I'll find out. That will be a value addition for me. For me to learn also. No. So different instruments are there. All right. So like this, you also introduce some 5 new elements to your children. You'll feel happy. You'll also learn. Right. And let them, if the child likes it, we don't know, he will become very smart in one particular music instrument which you had introduced, and one day he'll come and tell you, ma'am, because you only told me about that musical instrument, I learned it, ma'am. Like that they'll come and tell you. It's a very nice instrument. See, if one word, this darbuka is very, very good instrument, but nobody in our state is playing this. Let us see, one among you is playing in future. That's all. Enough. With that, you finish the sentence. Some 5 boys at least will go and search for the darbuka, and they will learn it. They'll try to learn. Even online classes on they go. These are all different types of instruments. So with this, I remember some assertion, many assertion and reasoning questions will help children to understand the concepts better. The latest type of testing, which is a proven thing for understanding concepts, is assertion and reasoning and case study. Some of the assertion and reasoning questions I tried so that I can share with you. It will be useful for you. Your 1.5 hours will be valuable for you. So with this, I'm concluding, teachers.